views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
All right, we're here. That's it. It's time for the Bronx Buzz. Nice to have you with us. This is our weekly program where we talk with Bronx reporters. We do a little round table discussion about Bronx issues. If you're looking at me and you're saying, I think I recognize the guy, yes, I'm Gary Axelbank, and normally I do Bronx Talk on Monday night, which we still do, but this is our Thursday night show where we loosen up a little bit and bring you Bronx reporters and find out what they're talking about. In addition, the second part of our program, we do what we call the Buzz of the Week, and we'll have a topic of mutual interest that we're going to talk about with our two reporters. So that's where we're at. Welcome to the show. It is Robert Wersing from the Bronx Times Reporter. Welcome back to Bronx Buzz. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, anytime. Thanks for having me, guys.
And Daniela Beasley from the Norwood News. Nice to have you again. Both have been on the show before, and it's great to have them back. Let's start with you, Robert, and the Bronx Times. Now, we didn't really spend a lot of time with it the last time you were on, but you are the photo editor of the Bronx Times. So just for information's sake, people who don't know what it is, what does a photo editor do? I mean, you are a part-time photographer yourself?
Yeah,
somewhat.
Much.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty much like a part-time like photo assigner. Like I'll assign out photographers to different events going on. And also at the same time, like I'll cover like things going on too. Like I'll write an article for the week. But mostly as a photo editor, like I'll assign photographers to different events. Like if there's like an award ceremony going on, I'll make sure that they go there and they cover like everything and get the right pictures.
You know, this is, to me, it's an interesting process. So what do they do? Then do they send you photos? Do you put them all in Dropbox? Obviously, you can't email everybody's photos. Do they come back to the paper and they bring you like their little digital card? I mean, how do you? And then you choose. How does the whole process work?
Well, it's actually a very interesting process. Like, there are times where the photographers will send us like all the photos they have, and we'll go through it and we'll choose the best ones, the ones that really capture like the feel.
That's what you do.
Yes, that's pretty much what I do, and also my editor of the paper. Like, we go through the photos and we check
Patrick?
it. Oh no, that's John Colazzi.
Oh, John, of course, is a long-time editor and he was a publisher.
And we go through the photos. He pretty much like chooses what photos are the best ones, and then I'll look at them and I'll kind of see what to really caption it, like to best like convey the feeling of the event.
Talk to me about the criteria you use. I mean, obviously it's got to be a good photo. You want it to be a nice photo, but let's say I'll give you two different types. One is a benign sort of story, like a award ceremony or a gala, which we have so many in the Bronx. But another might be a news story, you know, something like that. How do you choose, like what are you looking for when you look at a photographer's submission?
Basically, it depends on what the story is. Like, let's say, for example, it's like after like a big fire happens, we'll look for like a photo maybe of like the aftermath. We did one like a while back when there was this huge fire on Valentine Avenue. We sent the photographer out there to cover what the aftermath was, and it was really just devastating. It was like 8 townhouses, I believe, that were just devastated from the fire, and it just looked like something out of a movie, just like the sheer destruction.
Do you now here, just for example, folks, you can see the cover of the Bronx Times right there. I mean, it's just a lovely picture. Give me the philosophy of like what you try to convey in the photos, and you know, if you look at so many pictures and you really have to be selective, you know, what are you thinking about when you select?
Basically, we're just looking for like photos that really convey what the event is. Like, for example, with the front page photo there.
Okay, I'm going to show that again. Go ahead. I told you it's an informal show. Yeah, go ahead.
We're pretty much just like looking for something that really best explains like that kiddie carnival. So it's like fun for like the whole family. And right there we see 2 kids, actually brother and sister, having fun. You know, it looks like they're hugging. They're like having a great time on the ride.
Well, of course, children are adorable. You can't go wrong showing children. The other thing, which I'm going to show a couple of these in the same very scientific way that I just did. that has really characterized the Bronx Times. And some people have criticized it on some levels to say, well, the Bronx Times has always been kind of a cheerleader for the Bronx. But really, these full-page spreads, I hope I do this right. Of course, everything's going to fall all over the place, pardon me. But like this, Orchard Beach opened up. So was this one photographer or a lot of photographers? How did that work?
That was actually mostly one photographer, Silvio Pacifico.
Okay.
There is one photo there. I believe it's on the top right-hand corner.
Okay.
That was submitted to us by NYC Parks.
By NYC, so you did select a couple. But it really gives the Bronx, the whole, I don't want to say the whole agenda, but a large part of the agenda for the Bronx Times over the years has been to show that the Bronx has good stuff going on.
Oh, exactly, yeah.
So that was the Surf's Up, the opening of Orchard Beach. You had another couple of things which I'm going to tell you because I have been a public relations person over the years for Monroe College and others. And this is an incredibly handy page. And now, in the old days, if I recall, there was only one of these. Now, sometimes there's 2, even 3 of these kinds of pages in the Bronx Times. So just give me a little bit about what we're seeing here.
Sure. So we're seeing all different types of events going on in the borough. This one right here on the top corner.
Sorry. My director is going nuts in there.
Sorry. So
which one are we looking at?
Oh, we're looking at the top right here.
There's these two here.
Yeah. So we have actually a couple of students from Fancy Feet. They were featured in a Wyclef Jean music video for his newest single. And one of the students there actually performs as a young version of the artist in the music video.
You know, the other thing which I know about, again, as a public relations person, what the Bronx Times likes to do is show people. People like to see themselves. They like to see their neighbors. And frankly, organizations really like to see, who they are and who's in the... In other words, like here, this is a cheerleader, what is that, MS-89 won a cheerleader contest. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, parents are going to like, and you end up liking the paper.
Oh, yeah.
Business is business. That's what you're trying to do.
And it's a great keepsake for them too, because then they can cut it and they can hang it up on their refrigerator and frame it.
or they can get it shown on the Bronx Buzz.
Yeah.
I mean, this is how it works. And this is, I guess, the other page is a similar kind of thing.
Yeah, we have quite a few pages. I believe at least 5 in that issue, if I'm not mistaken.
And these are all, I guess this was Edwin Soto, no, Walter, all different. So that people submit their own photos.
Yeah.
If people want to submit photos to you, how do they go about doing that?
Well, they can always...
Or to the paper, of course.
Well, yeah, they can always submit to our website, our paper on, btrpics@gmail.com.
Right.
They could also submit it to me at rwersing@cnglocal.com.
Okay.
And then from there, I'll pretty much just forward the photos over to our paper's photo email, and then we'll just review them, and we'll try to see if we can get them in for the paper.
I know that John and the people over the years have really felt strongly about this aspect of the paper, and that's why, of course, they have somebody talented who's doing it. So I'm going to encourage, especially organizations that say, we have a nice thing, nobody ever covers us. They can't be everywhere. It's a very nice way of doing it. Just submit it, and it's BTRPix, P-I-X, at
gmail.com.
Gmail.com. Easy enough. All right, Robert, great. Thank you very much.
You.
Whole different point of view as we say hello to Daniela Beasley, who is with the Norwood News. Daniela is not the photo editor of the Norwood News. So what you been doing lately? What's going on? Everything all right? You been busy?
Yeah, I'm adjusting to living in the Bronx. It's
That's
good.
right. Last time she was here, we talked about how she came from elsewhere. I don't want to say where that is, Boston. This was a story that you did, which, we talked about it just beforehand. I'm surprised. This it says Fordham gas station plan fuels community opposition. I have my own feelings about what I read here. Tell me a little bit about what the story is, and then I'll do battle with everybody.
Okay, so essentially they're talking about putting in a gas station where currently there is a parking lot with 55 spots. It's where Sedgwick meets.
I think it's Fordham and Sedgwick.
Yeah, Fordham and Sedgwick, right, heading towards the Deegan.
Right.
And so, it was brought up at a community meeting, and it was not met positively.
Was it a community board? Yeah, it says it was Community Board 7's land use. Why? Clearly, I can't imagine the opposition. Why would anybody oppose adding a business, adding a convenience for drivers, et cetera, et cetera?
I think that they were seeing it as not so much of a convenience because of the traffic that would be coming in and out of the gas station. Because of the location of the entrances, it's kind of where...
The proposed entrances.
Yeah, the proposed entrances.
Okay, so let's just talk it out. So you have Dallas BBQ down there, right?
Yeah.
Around the corner, right? People who know where it is, it's going down Sedgwick before you make the right to go down to the Deegan. How many times have you done it? I've done it maybe 40 million times in my lifetime, but go ahead.
So like where the entrance and exits are proposed, it's right where people are merging in together, like where the yield sign is. So I think they're just afraid that people will be cutting across traffic to get to this gas station, causing accidents.
All right, here's my editorial comment. I mean, come on. I mean, if there are other reasons, if there are environmental reasons or, but that block, first of all, I don't see it really increasing traffic a lot. Plus, if you go down that block, in other words, like now 6 o'clock or 6:30, it's backed up from the Deegan anyway.
Right.
I mean, and if you're running out of gas, I don't know.
They did bring up the environmental issue.
They did.
They did. They said that they were, nervous about a gas station going in there, and the man who was the lawyer who came and talked about it at the community board meeting did say that there was no official environmental tests done because they weren't required in that space by law.
What is on there right now?
Parking lot is right there.
Parking. So you have I mean, I know that area, frankly, so well, and I know so many people in the Bronx do. So you come down there on the right. I think there's like an auto body or a wrecking service or something on the right with some garages. And then as you get closer to that corner, that's where they're talking about.
Yeah.
Gosh, I can't see why we wouldn't. Now, again, all the people in Community Board 7 are going to go, are you out of your mind? Maybe I don't understand all the issues. What is going to be the resolve in this, and how we're going to find out what happens?
Essentially, the lawyer who was there speaking said that they were going ahead with the project, and the first meeting for that, the court date is, I think it's the 11th.
Okay.
I think I said June 11th. And they would like a letter of support from the community board, but at the same time, if they don't get it, they're still going to go ahead with the project.
I would like to find out if do we know if it's going to be locally owned? See, that would be important to me, that certainly if somebody from the Bronx is going to make a living at it, in this day and age, I'd like to give them the job.
I don't know that. That wasn't said.
All right. One thing which I probably should have started with when we introduced Daniela is that the Norwood News, they have won yet still more honors and awards. And you're in the picture.
Yeah.
Now, you're there. So tell me about what this is. These were major journalism awards. Congrats to the Norwood News.
Thanks. So we won first place for Best Smallest Circulation Publication, and then David Cruz individually won Best Investigative Piece of the year.
And for you, that must have been exciting, I'm just guessing, for two reasons. One, to be there and see something like that, but also to be a young reporter who's getting a start, to be part of something that now forever you can say you were a member of the paper.
No, it was wicked exciting. I really liked being there and being a part of it.
What about this paper for you? I realize you're talking from the inside, not the outside, but what makes it a special paper? I mean, I know what I think about it, but you tell me, why did you win? Why did you earn those awards?
I mean, I just think we, kind of are trying to get away from the stereotype of community journalism just being fluff, and we really find those pieces that hit home with the people who live in our community.
And I'm going to add in, I mean, we know what kind of, and David Cruz, of course, has been on here several times already, but he's a very serious journalist. But they have good young reporters like you who are serious about it. Like if you get to do a story, you want to do a good job, of course, for yourself and your own development, but really also for the community, understanding the interrelationship.
It's amazing. It's amazing how in such a short amount of time I started caring about this community that I had no idea existed. Right.
Well, great. Okay, so Daniela Beasley from the Norwood News is one guest, and Robert Wersing from the Bronx Times is the other. Both have written stories about, and it's just horrible to think and talk about Muslims who have been attacked in our home borough of the Bronx, apparently because of their ethnicity. So we're going to talk a little bit about the stories they wrote, and then also a little interplay about the nature of this sort of horrible incident and prejudice that unfortunately exists not only in the Bronx but elsewhere as well. So it's the Bronx Buzz. We'll be back to do the Buzz of the Week. Don't go away.
Me and my boy Matt had it good. He had catnip that was off the hook. But one day, he brings a girl home, and she's allergic to cats. Every sneeze was a nail in my coffin. Now I'm in a shelter. It's decent, but they don't even have Wi-Fi.
I already knew that I was going to go to college, from a young age. I definitely want to major in political science. After that, I'm going to get my law degree. Then I'm going to come back to Detroit, boost the economy, become the mayor or something, try to make the situation better for other people. I feel like I owe it to the city. I'm determined. It's going to happen. My name is Justin, and I am your dividend.
I love taking care of my mom. It wasn't easy at first. She learned how to better communicate her needs.
And you learned how to not ignore yours.
I discovered how to make healthier meals.
And I discovered how much I enjoyed them.
Becoming a caregiver is a learning experience for everyone. Find articles, tips, and tools from experts and others who have been in your place. The Caregiving Resource Center at aarp.org/caregiving.
Okay, back with you for the Bronx Buzz. We're having a good time here in the studio, but we have a very serious issue to talk about for the Buzz of the Week. Each one of our two reporters, Robert Wersing of the Bronx Times and Daniela Beasley from the Norwood News, have written about Muslims who have been attacked in the Bronx. So let's first go with each and talk about the incidents they wrote about, and then we'll get into it a little further. So yours was in January, right? This was a highly publicized thing.
Yes, that's correct. So this actually happened back in January this year. It happened in Parkchester. There was this 34-year-old Muslim man. He was going to PS 119 to pick up his 9-year-old niece. It was around 5:25 at night.
The nerve of him.
Yeah.
Right? No, I'm joking. Right.
He was just walking there just to pick up his niece from the after-school program. And all of a sudden, he was just, without any real reason, approached by these two men, 14 and 15 years old, and they just started to attack him.
Well, it's just horrible. And it had been widely reported. I think we even did a show on Bronx Talk about it and all that kind of stuff. So that was in January. Now, the story that you wrote, it's not in this current paper, it was in the previous one. What happened?
Right. So it was a cab driver who picked up a fare, and when he got to the destination that they told him to go to, they started beating him, and they took around like $200 and his cell phone and were screaming, profanities at him.
And just to be clear, in both cases, it was identified that this was an ethnic attack based on ethnicity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the report that was filed wasn't filed as a biased crime because he didn't bring up the fact that they were saying these things about him until the next day. So if you look as what the crime was filed under, it wasn't filed as a biased crime.
Has that been reestablished?
I don't think so, but
Really?
I'm not 100% sure.
Because I believe I saw him on TV, and it seemed perfectly clear that
right.
That was the case.
He was definitely very clear about the fact that it was racially motivated, but
talk to me about, and we'll ask you each the same thing, about the community involved, the reaction of the community. Do they feel an ongoing prejudice, do you think, or were both of these somewhat isolated incidents? I'm going to connect them up to some other things in a minute, but let's start with that.
Well, I, heard about it because the community had contacted me and said that they were holding a press event in front of his house, and that he was supposedly going to be there and speak about it, as well as them talking about their feelings. He didn't end up showing up there. The victim wasn't there.
Right. He was, and I remember seeing him on TV. He was very upset.
Yeah.
Understandably, certainly.
But they mentioned the incident that he had covered in January, and we're connecting them all and saying that they feel underrepresented in the police force, and that maybe that would help.
That's another part of it.
Yeah.
And what about in the incident in Parkchester? Certainly, listen, both communities, actually, if you talk about Norwood, there is a huge Bangladeshi community, Middle Eastern community, and certainly in the Parkchester area there is.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, there's actually a very big Bangladeshi community in Parkchester. And it was just a really sad story to cover, just thinking about this poor man went to go pick up his 9-year-old niece, minding his own business, and these two teens just approach him and allegedly chant ISIS while beating him.
Oh my goodness!
While his 9-year-old niece watches.
We I believe covered this, as I said, on Bronx Talk. This one in January happened soon after Donald Trump's campaign was gaining momentum. And I'm saying it, not you. You're welcome to chime in. I firmly believe, especially because I've been covering and reporting and doing television in the Bronx for a very long time, that we didn't have those kinds of incidents till the dialogue, until the tenor of that campaign ratcheted up. Do you want to make that connection? You're going to just let me make it? Any thoughts about the climate, not only in the Bronx, but in America as a result?
I think it's certainly something that comes into play. I mean, a lot of this, like, hateful dialogue, a lot of the things that have happened in the media, like with the terrorist attack that occurred in Paris, and also in San Bernardino. I think, like, a lot of people are angry, but they just don't know where to direct that anger. And then, unfortunately, some people do speak up and they say, it's this certain group's problem, but it's really not. It's just really...
Your thought about the tenor of the dialogue, whether you want to attach it to Mr. Trump's campaign or not, that's up to you, but what do you think?
I mean, just listening to the community at that press event that I was at, I mean, they just feel that they've been attacked for so long.
So in that case, it was not isolated or potentially related specifically to what I just raised.
Right. I mean, I'm not saying that, they're not isolated, but that's definitely how the community came across that they were feeling at the event that I was at. So,
were there results, significant results, definitive results of this? Do you have a sense now, well, maybe there are infrastructures being put into place to prevent it, or educational things, or look, this happened and everybody shouted and now we'll move on?
I mean, as far as I've heard,
I can
it
tell
happened and everyone shouted, and I mean, they definitely, I'm sure, are looking still for whoever did this to this, poor man.
Yeah, I'm not.
But as far as a specific change being put into place because of this, I haven't heard of anything.
Any thoughts on what we could do? I guess, you in your community, you have a community center. You have a wonderful community center. It's possible to...
I mean, I definitely thought that it was interesting that they brought up the fact that they made up such a big population of, the Bronx, that they definitely have a presence, and yet they aren't really represented in the police force. I thought that was just interesting that they brought that up.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
Obviously, the whole notion of representation in the police force has been a long-standing issue in the borough of the Bronx. But I wonder also, do they feel, and I know there's a strong advocate in Parkchester, Assemblyman Sepulveda is a strong advocate, and others in Parkchester, but do they feel that elected officials and others respond to this concern? I mean, did you have a sense that there was support out there?
I think that there
or
was
am I
a
putting you
little.
on the spot and you don't really want to answer that?
I mean, I think that there was a little bit of support. They were definitely asking for more. I mean,
Yeah.
you know.
No question about it. Robert, your thoughts on what could be done or what is done? Certainly, there is a more visible, I'm just gauging from what I see and read, there is a more visible presence, unified group, I think, in the Parkchester area.
Mm-hmm.
So any sense on that?
Yeah, I think it's just, people really coming together and realizing, hey, we're not all so different after all. I mean, obviously, there are different religions, there are different races, but at the end, we're all human. And I think really people are starting to realize that in Parkchester.
I've had a number of dialogues, and actually it's one of the reasons that we do this particular TV show is the importance of journalism and the importance of reporting. They talk about sexual crimes and things like that. The numbers go up because they're being reported now. Not to say it hasn't happened before, but the presence of the newspapers and good newspapers, the Bronx Times and the Norwood News, I think is real important. So just before we leave, so what's next? Do you have anything on your docket? Are you looking forward to anything? You got some new pictures coming? What's next?
Yeah, we got quite a couple of events coming up that we're going to publish in a couple of weeks in the next issue. We're going to publish the Jewish Hall of Fame, which was just held.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, and a lot of good people
here
were
in the
honored.
Bronx?
Actually, yes, everybody was honored from the Bronx.
Hank Greenberg, we assume, who played, of course, baseball, and he went to James Monroe High School. I don't know, just saying.
Well, quite a few people. There was Lloyd Olton, the borough historian.
Right.
And let's see, there was also Arlene Alda, who was recently
Right,
honored
who wrote the
in
book,
the
that's right.
Bronx Hall of Walk of
Alan
Fame.
Alda's wife, of course, is the way that she is well known. How many pictures do you look at every week?
Oh, quite a lot, actually. Maybe like
1,000?
At least.
At least 1,000? 1,000
Nah.
photos a week.
Probably like 100. at
Daniela,
best.
what's coming up for you? They're telling me we got to get out of here.
Just rent control and
Rent
eviction bonuses is what I'm working on right now.
All right,
So.
great. Daniela Beasley, say hello to all my buddies over there at the Norwood News.
I will.
And same for you, Robert Wersing at the Bronx Times. We really appreciate you joining us today. And that's a wrap, is what I'm supposed to say. Louis Sepulveda will be our guest on Bronx Talk Monday night. And then don't forget, the week of the 20th, we're going to be hosting the debate for Congress in the 13th Congressional District. That's the seat being vacated by Charles Rangel. Keep on buzzing along. Good night.
Me and my boy Matt had it good. He had catnip that was off the hook. But one day, he brings a girl home, and she's allergic to cats. Every sneeze was a nail in my coffin. Now I'm in a shelter. It's decent, but they don't even have Wi-Fi.